Sorry.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the first ever episode 160 of the Kind of Funny Gamescast, brought to you by Patreon producer
Tom Bach.
You got it. You nailed it. How did you know, Greg?
I think it's just because he's given us his daughter's entire college fund. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
So it's been fantastic. Thank you, Tom. We appreciate you a lot.
She'll get scholarships. It's fine.
As always, I'm Tim Gettys, joined by one of the coolest dudes in video games, Greg Miller.
I'm taking it back.
Take it back. Take it back. And joining us in the full proper Gamescast for the first time, Jared Petty,
Glad to be here.
Reverend.
Yeah, dokie.
Very excited about this. And joining us for his second ever Kind of Funny Gamescast appearance, but the first ever of real numbered Gamescast appearance, Austin Creed.
Yeah.
Yay!
Doing things.
Up, down.
Yeah, that's my YouTube channel. Go subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, and make sure you hit the notification bell so you can watch videos as soon as they upload.
He says that all the time. He said that all the time on the Twitch show today. We never say that. We got everybody hit the bell so you can see when the videos go live. Yeah.
Because if I don't look at it on a Tuesday, then I go on a Thursday and there's 8 videos uploaded. I got time for one. Mm-hmm. But I'm not gonna watch all of them.
You gotta get that bell. You gotta ring that bell.
Fine art.
Do you watch any modern YouTube videos these days?
Yeah, I watch YouTube once in a while.
Because they're always talking about that bell now.
Oh, yeah?
It's a whole thing.
See, but I watch like the more intellectual content. You know what I mean? Where they're like, hey, here's this cat jumping through a screen door.
Ooh,
and I'm like,
okay.
get it, cat. You know what I mean?
How you guys doing?
Doing well.
We got quite the motley crew at this table. I'm feeling it.
I'm excited.
I'm feeling good about this episode. This episode will be worth the $1. This is the Kind of Funny Gamescast each and every week right here on youtube.com/Kind of Funny Games. We get together and talk about all the things that we love about video games.
Ring the bell, motherfucker.
Yeah, ring that bell.
Ring it.
You can get it early. How early, Greg?
So early you can be watching it live right now, as so many people are who give us a buck on patreon.com/kindoffunnygames.
It's fantastic.
Oh my God.
Or you can watch it at your leisure by going to patreon.com/kindoffunnygames and getting the VOD or the early audio. The VOD comes with the pre and post show.
Sure.
Which we just did a fun thing.
You weren't here yet, but Austin took his shirt off during it.
You did.
So if you want to see that,
I did.
No one's ever seen him shirtless before.
No one.
No one.
So if you want to see
No
him
one.
shirtless, this is the time.
It was rather breathtaking and spectacular.
It's a thing. It's a thing. But did I hear you correctly? You said this is only $1?
Yeah.
I thought that it was like $5 to watch live.
Oh, it's
only $1. That's not a deal.
Yeah.
That's a steal.
Yeah.
baby.
better
Or
be
if
getting
you
in.
don't have $1 or don't want to give $1, it's cool. YouTube.com/kindoffunnygames.
But I mean, we're trying really hard and we're doing really well.
No, I'm loving that pre-show, man. Loving that pre-show. That's a lot of fun.
Pre-shows are fun.
Great.
We just sit here, talk to the chat.
Yeah.
And there's not that many people there, so we usually get to talk to everybody.
Yeah.
It's nice. It's fun. Join the crew. Let's start off right. What have you been playing? Let's start with you, Austin.
Okay, things that I've been playing. Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
Pretty much like it's my job.
Yeah.
I'm in so deep. Like any spare time that I get, I'm playing Monster Hunter. So we'll get to a show and normally we hook up what's called the lab. We hook up PlayStations. I'll hook mine up. Kofi hooks his up. People have their Switches out. But we'll normally be playing like UFC or people are playing Madden. But I have now taken my PlayStation out of the lab and I set up in a corner by myself and play Monster Hunter. And I cannot stop.
Why is nobody playing next to you? That's the big question. Why are they not there? Why are they not all indoctrinated?
They're a bunch
Why
of
are they
Tim
not?
Gettys fuckboys. You know what I mean?
That is a good point. That is a good. Kofi Kingston is a Tim Gettys fuckboy if I've ever seen one.
No, he's the Madden champion.
Sure.
Him and the Usos always play Madden, but people are always trying to get onto that PlayStation to play Madden. And then E plays UFC, so he's not a Monster Hunter guy.
Yeah.
But that's just like, that's our rotation.
So these guys are
just
just
kind of-
dorks. You're the cool kid.
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
So you're over there in your corner by
cool.
yourself. Like, is somebody gonna like one day there's gonna be sad music playing? You're over there playing your hunt, and then one day somebody comes over with their PlayStation and sits down next to you, and it like breaks into the orchestra, and then like you bring them into the fold.
Now we're two.
As long as when we're on missions, they don't die because I want my reward.
the fainting.
Okay.
I hate it.
The fainting.
I hate it so much. It's to the point where I'll be fighting something for like 20 minutes. And then someone will come in and just die 3 times, and it's like you've wasted my time.
Right.
So are you patient with an understudy or not? Like, do you like to bring new people into the fold, or are you just like, nope, you need to be here to play right now?
You need to be here to play. I'll talk to you about it.
Yeah.
And tell you like, oh, you try this and this, but don't
Don't come and mess with my time.
don't come into my stuff, but I'll come and help you. I'll help you kill monsters if you're lower level.
Yeah.
But I don't need lower level people trying to get into my stuff and wasting my time.
I feel like there was 2 nights ago Jen and I, we're just cleaning clocks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're out there. We're increasing our hunter ranks. You're doing amazing stuff.
Crushing it.
And it was like, okay, let's open it up and let's, you just put out the code, let people come in. And sure enough, we went in there and I died right away. And I was like, these people must think I'm a fucking phony ass. Like I'm tweeting about it, talking about it nonstop. And here they pop in, oh, I'm excited to play with Greg Miller. Faints. I'm like, God. And it's because the damn T-Rex Angitha's running me down. That. Oh, man. And like last night, it was the same thing where I was like, oh, okay, we got on. We're playing. We're just going to farm this quest. Jen needs these skins or whatever.
Yeah.
And we're doing it over and over and over again. And like some new people would join and we went in there. And it's like, all right, cool. Oh, I forgot I was finishing something for myself, so I came and joined them. And I'm like, all right, big Greg Miller here to play. Thing looks at me, runs me over, bites me, splashes me around, throws me, and I'm dead. And I'm like, what the fuck? It was like a low level quest too. Jen's trying to knock out easy shit. I'm like, oh fuck.
What you don't know is that on the other end, there's some vengeful developer just controlling that monster. Sitting there
he worked on Lair, and he's here to take it back on me now.
Exactly.
Are you playing Monster Hunter?
Not right now. I'm a Monster Hunter guy.
You on your first Gamescast appearance years ago were the one that kind of explained Monster Hunter to me and Colin.
I love Monster Hunter. I had Monster Hunter Tri on Wii, Monster Hunter on DS. Love that Monster Hunter all the way back to those claw days when I'd watch folks in Japan play those on PSP.
I know it well.
I haven't gotten into the new one mostly because I was leaving one job, starting a new one, making a series, starting here, and so I've done a lot of gaming lately. But Monster Hunter is an investment that I need to give the proper amount of time to. So a few more days, and I'll be in, and I can tell you about what I'm up to whenever my turn rolls around.
Awesome.
Is this my turn?
Well, to keep going with Monster Hunter, do you guys see yourselves playing this long term still?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm
no end in sight?
I'm 85 hours in now. Okay. That's my game clock safe, right?
Yeah.
That only puts me at hunter rank 38 based on my and like there's kids who are like 150 or whatever already.
Yeah.
Like I'm in. I love this game. I love this world. Jen and I love playing it. The only thing that'll derail it, I feel, for me is when the next game that's like big comes around, right? Like Moss was a fun, I'm going to talk about Moss eventually. Yeah. Moss was a fun distraction. It's a short game. So it was like, oh, I bopped it out in 2 sittings and I'm great and I'm back to Monster Hunter. But when a God of War comes around, right? When there is something big that's going to distract me for multiple hours, it'll be interesting to see how it is. But at the moment, like last night even, we were playing and I was grinding stuff for Jen. And it was, all right, cool. This is great as always. And don't make that face about my wife and me grinding.
I'm pretty sure I'm going to manage through Monster Hunter to render myself irrelevant to every discussion we have on the show for the next year, because I'll pick it up by the time we sit down next Thursday to record. I think I'll already be into it.
Yeah.
But by the time I'm up where I want to be, because it's probably a 400-hour game for me.
Sure.
Then y'all have moved on to the next thing.
See,
and
I don't
then
think
I'll be
we
behind
will.
in that discussion. It's just going to go on forever.
It falls into Destiny done right camp for me, where maybe even Division's a better example because I love the Division. Thought it did really well. Yeah. Eventually, I'm gonna get distracted, but then they're gonna put in a quest, or you're gonna say, "Man, I really want to play Monster." And I'm like, "I'll come totally help you farm." Because now this is the big thing. I had to have a heart to heart with our best friend Cisco, where he hit me up and he's like, "Hey, man, we said we were gonna play. You're not playing with me." And I'm like, "Dude, it's the weekend. Jen and I are right. We think we're right at the end. Let me beat it." Because like what it does, Tim, is it level caps you kind of, where it gives you like, you're hunter rank 13 or 14 or 15. And it's like, it's saving the progress you're making so that when you do beat the game, it goes, all right, cool. Now you're hunter rank 29 is what I jumped to, which was another fake cap at 30. So then I beat the mission last night to go 30 and now I'm 38. So it's like, it's saving that progress. But it's so infuriating to look at the game. Oh man, I put 75 hours into this game, and then I get in and I'm like, I'm hunter rank 14, and I'm running around with kids who are 46. I'm like, fuck this. And so I was like,
it's the most
Cisco,
aggravating.
you gotta just let me beat it this weekend, and then once it's done, I'm available for everything. I will pay it forward because so many kids are coming and helping us out that are just jumping in that are insanely good, that are just making us beat bosses so much quicker.
So good.
It's so great how a friend could just hop in and help you like that. It's fantastic. I love that element of Monster Hunter.
And that's the thing. So for me, it's like an MMO on a smaller scale, like an MMO light. So it's got all those things that you want in an MMO, as like tons of different content. So like I think it just ended. And tomorrow the Ryu stuff,
right? Street Fighter stuff.
Yeah, you can just straight up be Ryu.
And now it's Aloy from Horizon.
Yeah, so there's so much stuff that they're just dropping on a regular basis. But the fact that you can play with so many different people whenever you want, and they're all over the world, like it's a good toe in the water to an MMO. So like I could easily see people going from, once they're done playing this, if that does happen, like going to like a Final Fantasy 14 or something, because they say, oh, it's like the same kind of deal, but there's magic and it's a bigger world. Like it's a cool kind of segue to get people into that world.
What works so well with it is that it's so rewarding. in the way that like I've been running this armor set forever, right? This big gold, I look like almost like a samurai, but it's like this giant blocky armor that's really great. But now I've unlocked further ones. I'm like, do I want to upgrade that or do I want to? I'm like, I'm gonna start making my move for this next thing armor. And so I made that decision, and then 2 or 3 hours later, I had like 2 or 3 pieces from it.
Yeah.
And like I know that sounds long, but this is also a game where time melts. Where it is literally like, oh man, it's 7:30. I'm gonna play a few, and then you look down, it's 9:15. You're like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
So like it's in Destiny, or I mean, like I think about MMOs, DC Universe Online, when it'd be like, man, I want that House of L, that Krypton war suit, and it would be. I remember doing the math one time, and it was like, well, that's 90 hours. I'm not doing that again. I'm already this far into it. Whereas this one is like, oh, my sights are set on that. And last night was the moment where I was like, I know how into it Jen and I are, because it is like literally, good to see you, catch up on the day, eat dinner, and then let's fucking play and sit down there. And like the other night, we played till 11:45 or whatever, right? Which isn't obscenely late, but Jen's usually someone who goes to bed early, right? And so we went to bed, and then the alarm went off, and I looked at her, I'm like, what time is it? And she's like, it's 5:45. I'm like, you are not the person who plays till midnight and then wakes up at 5:45. Like, she's like, I had to do it. Just had to do it. She had work to do that morning. I digress. It's that thing of, that is what it's all about, and that is what's driving, and that's why I'm gonna keep coming back to it, and that is the rewards to it. And if last night we were sitting there, and I was like, all right, fine. And I got up, and she's like, what do you know? I brought the computer over. I'm like, because it's that thing of like, fuck, where do we get the Elder Dragon, whatever? Where do I get this? How do I make that drop? And we're both asking it for our things, and we're Googling, and then it's like, all right, I'm going to go do this, you go do that. We're going to set up our own quest, get the kids to join us, go get what we need. Like,
how many people can play together at once?
Your hub world can have 16 people in it. Your missions can have 4.
Okay.
Greg, does playing this change the way when you look back at a game like Peace Walker and think about how when that was, originally designed with Japanese audiences in mind, and you could always find people when Monster Hunter craze was going on, said I was living there, and you couldn't walk in to a McDonald's and not see 4 people sitting around a table playing Monster Hunter. You couldn't ride a train without an ad hoc network in the car, people playing Monster Hunter. Does that change the way you go back and look at games, say like Peace Walker, looking at that now and like, wow, I wonder what that was like when you could play it Monster Hunter style? Is there any of that?
I got to do that with Peace Walker.
Did you?
And
Okay.
Peace Walker was the breakout game for me. I reviewed the Monster Hunter ones right when I first got to IGN, and Capcom would come by and explain, no, like in Japan it's like that, and this is how everybody works, and like I remember playing with the PR person, and it was like, oh, this is awesome, and it's what's happening now, where like when we play with Grimecraft, or we did when we first started, he'd be explaining all these different things, and we'd teach him something. It was like, oh wow, that's great. Peace Walker was the example of, I was in love with Peace Walker, Caleb Lawson was in love with Peace Walker, Mike Pereira was in love with Peace Walker, and it would be, cool, work's done, let's go to the bar. And we would go to a bar and sit there and play PSP, and I'm like, this is fucking awesome. Why hasn't it always been like that? And it's like, I always talk about it. It was that, and then it was Freedom Wars on Vita. That are really the only times I can think of having those experiences where it was like, man, this is the way this system was designed. This game was designed to be played.
Yeah.
And that's why it's awesome now to play Monster Hunter and be like, man, like when people compliment it or do this or how we're using it, it's just like, this was all on PSP, but the audience wasn't here.
Right.
And that wasn't how we use it. And so now for it to be in this time, perfect.
I think to your point of it being so satisfying when you're getting stuff so much faster than you would in other games, I think the biggest thing for me is I play with a lot of my friends at home. So all my best friends from like elementary school and stuff are in Atlanta, but I'm never home. Yeah. And so it's one thing to like jump on and play like Street Fighter with them or Tekken, because it's like, okay, cool, we're just mashing buttons and talking and catching up and everything. But like Monster Hunter, it's so much easier to, I don't know, to like form a more quality bond playing with people online through Monster Hunter for some reason. And I think it is because, like you said, time melts. So you feel like you're going through something with people. And as opposed to like, I used to play Destiny a lot online, and I had like my whole clan, and there were like 80 of us in there. So we kind of talk on a Discord and then jump in here and there. And it was fun, but to that point, again, like it takes so long to unlock things or get what you want, and all the drops are so random. So like, even if in Monster Hunter, if you need a specific scale or a specific like piece of something's stomach, you're still getting so much other stuff with the drops that you can still make things on your way there to keep you satisfied until you get what you're actually looking for. But while you're doing that, the person you're playing with might get the drops that they need. And so like it's just a cool environment to be able to be a part of, because everything brings you together so much more than in pretty much any other game that I've played.
You always feel like you're moving forward.
Exactly. You're always making progress in what you're doing. Nothing feels like a waste of time. And when it did, like in Destiny, when I'd be high level and come back and help a friend or like try to get a friend into it, it felt like I'm wasting my time to go back. Whereas this, I'm picking something up. Maybe I'm just getting flash bugs that I'm going to use to make flash pods or whatever. It's like, whatever. It's all paying it forward. And again, because it moves so fast, I want to grind out this summer. All right, we can do that. No problem.
Yeah.
Like, especially when you get in there and you're like, we're running missions down and killing things in like 9 minutes. It's like, oh, easy. This is super simple.
And the fact so with the investigations. So if I've got something that says, I need to hunt like 3 large monsters, or I need to capture this or that. Like if you're running a quest and I've beat this thing 19 ranks ago, I can just come in, beat it up, capture it. So like you're getting the quest fulfilled, but I'm fulfilling my investigations, which will give me more armor spheres, which will let me upgrade my armor that I've currently got. So even helping lower level people, you're still going to be able to advance your stuff.
For the record, and I hate to do this, he means bounties, of course.
Bounties, sorry.
I don't want them yelling at you in
Not
the comments.
investigations.
The fake gamer guy.
Sorry.
He doesn't know what he's talking
Sorry,
about.
bounties.
Forgive me if you guys have covered this on Gamescast before, but I don't think I've heard you talk about it. This is both y'all's first Monster Hunter, right?
This is my first, yes.
Your first. And
I reviewed the 2 on PSP, but they didn't click. It was work for me, where I was like, oh, okay, I get this, but it's not mine.
So what was it like for you, Austin, playing this, and the very first time you are whooping up on a monster, you're feeling good, you've learned the pattern, and the thing just turns around and runs away?
It's the worst.
Isn't that
the worst? I had no clue what was going on. So one of my buddies was like, you got to try this out. You got to play it. It's so much fun. So maybe like I'm 2 hours in. I'm like, dude, I don't like this. It's so difficult. It moves around like it reminded me of Bloodborne.
Yeah.
And the fact that like you press the button and then 2 seconds later the attack happens. And I'm like, no. So getting that timing down was aggravating. And he said, hey, go to your little house and they'll let you go to like a training area and you can try all the weapons. Once you find a weapon you like, it's going to be so much more fun for you. So I found a weapon that I like, switch axe, baby.
Ooh, okay.
So I found that out and it became better. Then you get the dodging down and it became better. So it went from like 2 hours into not liking it to like 7 hours in. Now it's my favorite game ever.
Okay.
So like went from 7 hours in to now we're like 72 hours in, and it's like, where did the time go? It's just, and you feel like you're always progressing, but you're always just hitting the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
And so that's what makes you want to come back. So like, when is this going to finish? And it's like, never.
spectacular games?
It's fantastic.
Series is great.
Do you think the next Monster Hunter is going to be Switch again, or do you think it's well, not again, but Nintendo again, portable again, or do you think it'll be a Monster Hunter World 2?
I don't have an informed hypothesis on this. I think it's an incredible match for Switch, and because Monster Hunter does work really well as a portable series, it's just so much fun. Imagine those little grinds you're going on now, but if you can just do that on every bus ride, every train ride, pop in there.
Well, that's the thing of if it's on Switch and it's all the things that are great about World and then all the things that were great about PSP.
Exactly.
Where it would be it would be, just pop it on for 2 seconds on the plane, grind out whatever, come back, go online, sync it up, play with the other people, and it's like, this would be the best thing.
What is the major difference between the portable versions of the game and
They're fundamentally the same. World is obviously the online focus is more than we've ever seen over here before. That's a big part of it. But the other bit is portability. The game is designed to be played in little chunks and in big group settings both. Those are both very important elements of the game. When you play it on the handheld, you always had the ability to sit there and kind of, like he was saying, just grind out a little bit, go after a little something, and then you met your friends and you did something together and you do kind of a dedicated, scheduled hunt. Then you go off and do your own thing again for a while, and then you pop back in. Switch would allow you to emulate that experience in the United States, which is something that World, as great as it is a little less good for, because you can't just take it for that commute. You can't just have it in your backpack for when you got 15 spare minutes to, like you said, just go grab a few components for something.
You figure, like, right, for what I was talking about there, we got 20 minutes or whatever till showtime. I could have easily done the quest, but turning on the PlayStation 4, loading up the game, loading into the world, picking the quest, loading the map, jumping in. But if it was where it was just like sleep mode, like it was on PSP, where boop, and then I come back in, boop, I'm already at my quest board. I'll put it up and go.
But then with Switch, you walk up, you do that, and you're like, man, I want to play with some friends right now.
Yep, pop it in the dock,
pop
and
it
there you
in,
go.
out you go, and assuming there's some kind of communications matrix eventually designed for that thing that is less than completely ridiculous.
Yeah.
Then you're able to pop on and do some fun.
What other games you been playing besides Monster Hunter? You get your hands on that Dragon Ball FighterZ?
I love Dragon Ball FighterZ.
I can imagine you do.
It's so good. And it's because I love Dragon Ball so much, but it just like, it looks perfect. And that's the thing. Like, you feel like you're playing the anime.
Yeah.
And it's cool because I was at an arcade bar like 2 weeks ago. I'm like, oh, this is our guy. He's like the best at Dragon Ball FighterZ here. I was like, oh, let me play him. So we went. I ended up beating him in the set. So 3 out of 5, but it was the first time that I actually played it against someone, like after I'd had some time to like practice in person. And it's very different playing against someone who's sitting right there rather than playing people online.
Yeah.
So like my heart is racing and like my combos aren't coming out and I'm freaking out. It looks like I'm sweating and like he's sweating. And we're like, oh my God, what's gonna happen? But people are watching because it's like I said, because it looks so clean.
Fun to watch.
Yeah. So it's probably my favorite fighting game out right now. But I'm back and forth between Monster Hunter, Dragon Ball Fighters, and UFC 3.
Is it
How
the best?
is UFC 3?
I love it. Now, I haven't done any of the story mode stuff. So, like, backstage at shows, like, we use that. We just play
Exhibition stuff, yeah.
So I haven't gone through any of, like, the story mode or anything, but I've heard that it's fantastic. But as far as, like, a party game, playing with your friends, like a pass the controllers around type game, super fun.
Is it easy to pick up? Because that was always with the original UFC game. I remember trying to play it. I think I might have even reviewed one. But it was like, man, this is a complicated control system that takes time for me to figure out.
It does take some time, but one of the things that's interesting about it is they have something called knockout mode. And so it's like if you guys want to play but you don't understand the jiu-jitsu stuff or any of the throws, you can just go to knockout mode and it's just the person who gets hit like 6 times, their player gets knocked out.
Oh, okay.
And
So it becomes a normal traditional fighting game.
Exactly. But it's got the UFC tendencies and they got the announcers and you get to essentially learn how to throw certain punches and kicks so you feel better with your stand-up. So then if you go into the real game, you're not trying to learn a million things at once. But legit, like, I know when we started playing it, it took maybe like 2 weeks and then we felt comfortable with the controls. But it is a lot if you're just trying to sit down and play it for the first time. Like in the first 5 minutes, you're not going to really understand how to move everything around. But it doesn't take too long to get.
I wish one of us were into it because I would love somebody to make Nick. And, like, take him through the story.
I love it. Yeah. There he is. You say his name and he appears.
Yeah.
Matt Scarpino's somewhere around this building right now.
That's funny. Have you ever played the UFC games?
I played
Come on, get the mic,
Yeah. Not since they switched over. I played them when they were THQ.
Mm-hmm.
They were really complex and they're really fun. It's just I think when you're playing them and the hard part about them is you have 3 separate systems you have to account for, right? You have stand up, clinch, and then when you're on the ground. And so I think that was a learning curve for a lot of people that they just weren't willing to do. I think they're simpler now. But yeah.
It's so fun.
Are they
though.
fun?
Yes. So I think, so I was talking about there's knockout mode where it's literally just stand up. The person that get hit 5-6 times, whatever it is, gets knocked out. So you're just it allows you to it lets you just work on the movement and everything in your range and stuff. But it's awesome because it's super satisfying to knock somebody out because like the physics of the bodies and Joe Rogan just screaming and it's like the crowd losing their mind. It's so fun. So there have been instances where people bring their kids backstage and would toss the kids a controller, and one of the guy's kids who's 5 years old, he was like wrecking us because you can just mash buttons, but he's sitting there pressing and screaming because he knows that he's winning.
So have they simplified the actual moveset for the 3 different systems?
No. So for this one,
complex?
it's probably this UFC 3 is more complex than UFC 2 because you can do like, okay, so square and triangle, those are your jabs, but then if you hold L1, it's a hook, but if you hold L1 and R1, it's something else if they have like a spinning back fist. But you don't have to use those like power punches to knock somebody out. You can keep them at bay with just like jabs and kicks. So you can play it as simple or as complex as you want.
Interesting.
So it has a learning curve, but you don't have to use it, and you can still be good at it without it.
Maybe I'll get secretly really good at it and then challenge these guys. That'll be fun.
That'd be awesome.
Hey guys, I was just thinking, I want to take a shot at it. Just fucking choking everybody out.
So Jared, what have you been playing?
Well, so I have been launching Hot Blip and working over here and was leaving my old job. And so a lot to do during that period of time. So I've turned to my old friend Portable Gaming for over the last couple of weeks. That's where I've gone is during commutes and stuff. Sat down, and so I am still making my way up that mountain, my friend. Yeah, I am. I'm
You
near
play
the,
Celeste?
Yeah.
Are you a
heard it was
2D?
good.
Are you a 2D platformer guy? Oh, you're gonna love it.
Yeah,
you're gonna love it.
It's something special. It really is. But the seamless integration of a worthwhile thematic story with action that fits the theme and you know, not to spoil anything here, but you're going to figure out fairly early that, hey, I got a mountain to climb.
Yeah.
And you've got a mountain to climb in the story and you've got a mountain to climb in the game. And they're both really difficult. And it's very well done. It's a superb game. Not quite like anything I've ever played. I've seen the comparisons to Super Meat Boy. They're apt. There's definitely some inspiration there when you get things like the B-sides versus the dark sides and all that. But it feels utterly its own as well. I didn't know that playing a platformer with a stick could be that much fun. It's
With
superb.
the analog stick?
Absolutely nailed it. So that's a great game, and I am just continuing to kind of grind through that because there's so much.
Yeah,
there's
on
a lot
Switch,
of replayability.
Yeah.
It's on Switch.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's on everything.
Yeah.
But Switch is, even though the other versions are neat, Switch is the way to play, in my opinion. I don't know.
That's
if
how I
Isaac
played it.
would-
I
too,
agree.
It's a delightful game.
Crack.
Then there was this here Chrono Trigger you might have heard
no,
of.
I heard that.
Yeah,
I'm sorry for your
lots
loss.
of I was very excited. Oh,
I feel the pain too.
you feel the pain? Did you run out and buy it the moment you saw the news?
No, because I luckily had to wait till the next day to get it, and my friend was like, "It's the phone port." I was like, "Oh,
Yeah,
I'll
and
just
so
leave it."
it's a very interesting situation because it's not actually the version of Chrono Trigger that used to be on phones. There has been a phone version for a long time, but what they did was they created a new phone version that they updated people that already had Chrono Trigger on the phone and released this at the same time
On PC.
on PC. And they're identical, but it's not actually the old phone version. It's a new phone version
it's still a
slash
phone
new
version.
PC
Garbage phone
version. And
Great.
so so I've been playing the new phone version. That's actually where I've turned to. And you know what? It's not the ideal way to play Chrono Trigger, but it ain't half bad because it's Chrono Trigger. And
That's fair.
on a phone screen, they can get away with some of the things that are harder to get away with in the PC version. So while Chrono Trigger is, I think, inarguably one of the greatest examples of game making ever.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
superb. You agree?
100%.
Okay. And you want a game like that to get TLC. Square has done some weird things with remakes and ports, and
Final
all
Fantasy
of
6 on the phone.
what's that?
What happened with Final Fantasy 6 on the phone? Why
just-
is it so smushy looking?
Just all over the map. You got some weird stuff there. Then you got Final Fantasy Tactics War of the Lions on iOS, which should be just like the perfect matching of that kind of game.
Totally.
Except it crashes all the
Final
time.
Fantasy Tactics. Yes, it worked.
I told you
Yeah,
the gods
did
are
it
with us
happen?
today.
Wow,
sir.
no kidding. Oh, wow, that's rad. Okay, I'm really excited about that. But yeah, Tactics, which should be great, except that it's buggy and it crashes a lot, or has till recently at least, and that's problematic. I mean, you've got this wonderful game with a great translation, and I understand. I read an article on Touch Arcade recently that was talking about how, hey, look, man, it's not that mobile's the problem; it's that a lazy port is the problem. There are great mobile games out there, and they could have chosen to make a great mobile game, but the person writing this article argued they've learned that the name sells the game and they don't have to put a lot of work into the port. And you remember this going back to, remember you get compilations of old games and sometimes you get really beautiful, real polished ones like the ones that M2 does, for example, for Virtual Console.
Oh, yeah.
And then you got some of those that were just obviously thrown into a barrel together and somebody slapped an emulator on top and hoped it worked. I'm afraid that Square didn't give this the love it deserves, and they thought it would be easier to just create something they could put as many places as possible so they could justify the investment. But it's Chrono Trigger, and it deserves a better treatment. So I'm okay actually playing it on my phone. I think the button placement's a little messed up. That font is ugly. There's some graphical issues there. But it sounds pretty nice, at least coming out of my tinny phone speaker. Have you fooled with that, Austin, at all? Like, you gonna dive in, or?
Maybe eventually. I'm gonna give it some time.
Yeah, I wonder. What's
hurts
your
too much.
Chrono Trigger background?
So I didn't have a Super Nintendo when I was little, so I got into Chrono Trigger like late high school, but just like played through it. I don't know if I've played through an RPG as fast as I played through Chrono Trigger because it's just like so good. Music is big for me in games, and
God,
Chrono Trigger has some of the
Frog's
best
theme, man.
music of all time. So it's been a very long time since I've played through it fully, but every once in a while I'll see it like on my shelf and like, let me play for 30 minutes. But I always start over.
Yeah, and that's the stuff. That's where this is so frustrating. Like somebody I saw on the internet the other day, somebody on Twitter was saying that this version of Chrono Trigger looks like somebody's first RPG Maker game.
Yeah, I saw that whole thread because
Yeah.
it was the guy who was like, "Holy shit, Chrono Trigger's out today." Wait a second, this doesn't look good.
Yeah.
This looks like RPG Maker, and then it was like just a fucking teardown of this is the phone version.
And let me tell you what, there's some great RPG Maker games out there. To the Moon, one of my all-time favorite video games, made in RPG Maker. There's some great stuff out there. But this looks like a sloppy project that kind of resembles an RPG Maker game. And so, you were talking about that sound, that music. The beginning of Chrono Trigger on the SNES is that the pendulum swinging and that beautiful and that echo and that lovely music. And on this, it's this weirdly badly rendered, like looks like it's on the 3DO 3D graphic swinging down. And when you get into the game, it's actually a form of pixel art, but there's just these rough edges where you're like, man, you could have tried harder, and you just didn't. So I think the backlash is going to maybe end up costing them more than. But then again, what I usually I don't buy bad games, even. This time
you had
they
to give
got
in.
me.
They had the name.
Got
Jared
me
Petty
at the
fell for
moment,
it.
and that's
Gotcha.
my fault. I did the wrong thing.
They
I broke
gotcha.
my rule. They got me.
With mobile games, I've been playing one called Neon Drive, and it is fantastic. It was
What is
actually
it?
it's also on PlayStation 4, but I just heard of it because I was looking at the mobile app store for things.
Does it have a platinum?
On the PlayStation? I am not sure.
I knew you
but
would.
it is
I'll check for you,
it
don't
is
worry.
such a Tim Gettys game. It is a rhythm action game styled after retro 80s aesthetic, very Outrun.
Love Outrun.
Yeah, so it's like it starts out looking like Outrun, but the only controls that you have are left and right, and it's real simple. And then it kind of turns into a DDR with a controller style experience where this rad 80s retro music's playing as you're going through what looks like Andy Cortez's dreams. And you're just kind of driving through it, and you have to just dodge obstacles, and it's all to the rhythm of the music you're playing. So you really get in that like Zen-like trance of playing through the game. And right when you kind of get used to it, it'll switch perspectives and go up to like a more top-down, like old school rad racer type thing. And I'm like, oh, this is really cool. And then all of a sudden the car will Transformer style, and it turns into a 2D platformer. But it's all the same type of gameplay of just dodging things.
Oh
through.
wow,
And
there
I-
it is. That's a Transformer.
Dude, that's really cool.
It's like Blade Runner, Tron, Transformer, Audio
And
Surf.
there's so many fun references and just cool kind of visual nods to things. Like one of the levels actually begins and it sounds and looks exactly like Blade Runner, and it's like a kind of remake of the Blade Runner theme. The as you're flying into the city, and then you go down into the streets on the cars. It's really cool, and I'm having a good time with it. And like, it's one of those things where just like I'm in an Uber.
Yeah, so much good mobile gaming out there. I mean, if when you can sift through the garbage, there's so many innovative games that deserve to succeed out there on mobile right now. I got mad at Chrono Trigger and I pulled out my old port of Dragon Quest 1 on mobile, which is perfect. It's a really good it's a great little port. And again, that's another Square Enix game, but it's actually works well on the phone, and it's charming and it's cute and it's well done, and I've had a lot of fun with it. And I have also, before moving on there, I did play some more Shadow. I'm slowly grinding my way back through that. That's when I'm at home. That's the other bit, and the other reason I haven't hopped into Monster Hunter yet, which I will. But I also, and maybe this is a bridge right here, because I think this fella's next, but I am also sitting here resenting that I'm an Android user for the most part.
Yeah.
And I can't play Florence.
Yeah, you fucked
Greg,
it up.
Florence, what's up with it? I still haven't played it, and I'm really sad.
You got to play Florence.
'Cause you're hyping it up.
Yeah, well, yeah, and that sucks. Don't let me hype it up. It's a great game. It's a great game. I found it super compelling, emotional, awesome. But I know how it is. You hype a game up, and it keeps getting, because a lot of people were talking about this at the time, or last week. I played on the way to Dice or whatever, from a developer called Mountains, published by Annapurna. So I stumble through that every time, but I think I said it all right there. But all those guys down there making great games and gals, obviously. Deb Mars, what up? It is a game that is the entire
Shout
life.
out Dengar.
Deb Mars.
Got it.
She used to work at Sony Santa Monica. Now she works over at Annapurna. Am I saying it right, Jared? You seem like the guy who correct me on this.
Annapurna, right?
Annapurna. Thank you. I always screw it up. I can't ever say it right.
That's my favorite Russian novel.
Florence follows the entire life cycle of a relationship.
That sounds so rad.
That's how it was pitched to me. So I played through it. That sounds like a relationship would end. Obviously, there's no spoilers here. I don't think you have to worry about that, because it's about the journey, not the destination.
Yeah.
But it is a game that is told through beautiful music, through ingenious control mechanisms, and no dialogue. They aren't saying stuff. There isn't VO. There isn't text on the screen. You pick up on the contextual clues of what's happening, and it's drawn and it's animated. It's like a graphic novel come to life kind of thing. And there's movement and stuff like that as you walk through. But like the biggest thing I've seen when I played it, and Jen and I was playing, and Jen and I had an earphone on it. Made her cry, of course, because that's how I definitely felt this game afterwards. Yeah. But we both said the same thing that I then saw echoed by Joey on Twitter and other people. Like, the conversation system in it is really, really well done. And so, mild spoilers, but not really, is that like when you meet, you're the girl Florence, obviously. When you meet the guy and you start talking, you have to assemble these word bubbles, right? And it's like the word bubble is there, and then there's like colored puzzle pieces that you bring in and like move around to like make it, and then it makes the word bubble and pops up, right? They don't beat you over the head with it. If you're flying through, you might not even notice it. But in the beginning, when you first meet the person, obviously she's already seen him. She already knows, she thinks he's cute or whatever. She meets him, and the puzzles are really hard. Not really hard, but they're, oh, fuck, wait, no, that doesn't go there. Like, you're doing that kind of thing, right? But in that conversation, as it gets going, it gets easier and easier and easier till the end. It is just like moving one giant piece into the thing to have the conversation flow.
I love when a game has an interesting conversation system. That's great. Oxenfree does some neat things with that. Or the insult sword fighting in Monkey Island, which is one of my all-time favorites. That is a brilliant idea. Again, we were talking about Celeste earlier. When you can make the gameplay feel like what's happening in the story,
and it makes you feel smart, and you're getting it, and you're seeing like when there's this thing where they're having like a bad day, and like you start assembling the word pieces for the word bubbles, and then they start getting like jagged edges, and you're like, and sure enough, it's them back and forth fighting. It's like, wow.
That's
and so
cool.
That's awesome. They have different things in there, of like, there's some customization to it of you laying out a pattern on something I don't want to talk about. There's like little things of moving in together and then taking his stuff and putting it on your shelves in your apartment. Like you're moving, you have to take some of your stuff down, put some of his stuff up, but you get to pick and choose whatever you want it to be. And then at the end of it, right, of like having to take those down and put them back in the box and close the box. It's like,
I love that.
It's awesome.
That
and like,
sounds fantastic.
The other thing to give it a shout for, and I know I'm ruining a lot of it, but like the soundtrack. So amazing. I want to say it sounds like classical music. It's all like that. I want to say it's all violins, but don't quote me on that. I've been listening to it. There's piano probably in there too. I'm just not paying attention, but it's on Spotify. Even if you're not going to play the game, just go listen to the soundtrack because it's awesome. And even there, like it'd be the thing where I was cooking the other night and I had it on and it got to like where there's like troubled waters and Jen's like, oh no, they're fighting. Like, you know what I mean? Like it brings back that feeling to it. It's like, it's a game, man. And it's short. I beat it on the flight down there, but it was like, I want to say 30 minutes maybe. But it's that thing where I'm not paying attention and it was totally worth the $3 or whatever I paid for it. It was like, yeah, that's awesome and that's great.
Buy games on your Droid so that we can have nice things. Nobody buys anything on Androids and nobody makes anything on Android.
It's a pirate on Android.
There's a game on Android. You guys know BTS, the Korean K-pop boy band? So they have a sweet game on Android.
Oh, really?
It's fantastic. That I actually had to change my app store to the South Korean app store so I could download it so I could play it.
Is it worth it?
100%.
In?
It's free.
Okay. In. Thanks.
It's amazing,
totally there.
Especially if you like K-pop. Because
Ryan Clements, your ears are burning.
I'm not saying there's no good games on Android, but I have read in more than one place that Android's marketplace is a very different ecosystem than iOS's, and so the chance to sell certain kinds of software at a face value, which is how I prefer to buy things instead of incrementally. It's a lot harder to do that for certain stuff.
And I also guarantee piracy has a lot to do with it because the people that have Androids typically have them for a reason. And it is one of those reasons is they don't have the money to buy the new iPhones, and it's like Androids tend to be cheaper because there's cheaper options. But then there's also the people like Kevin that are just like, I want to tinker every single thing in this iOS and customize the living hell out of it, which also means you know where to download them.
Are you calling me an impoverished pirate?
I feel the way you said, he goes, well, certain kinds of people like to get Android.
Listen here, you pauper.
If you look at the Android pie chart, I think those are two very
over
big
here on his iPhone X.
I'm a buccaneer. That's right. But I'm a poor buccaneer. That's me.
Florence is great, and they'd be foolish if they don't make a Switch version because the art's amazing. And so to turn the Switch sideways, right, and play it that way,
you think it work on Switch?
I think it would. I mean, it's got a touchscreen, right? I mean, it would have to be one of those games that is only touch, but I don't think that's a big deal. They've already done that.
They've done it.
Yeah, that's happened, and I think again with how the eShop is selling, how indies are going, I think this is a game that most people won't give a lot of consideration to, and it'll always be over there with your Monument Valley, where I've heard that's a great mobile game, but I don't ever want to play it. That's me speaking. I've heard. I'm not going to play Monument Valley.
Yeah.
But on Switch, I'd totally play it again, and I'd love to have that, especially to see the art blown up. And like, I'm sure it's super high res.
Yeah, because with the indie stuff coming out on Switch, I feel like it's very much like the Steam store. Stuff will drop Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then I see stuff Saturday, like, oh, this game came out, and then I look, oh, this whole new list of things, and it's like, oh, that one's $4, this one's $7, and then I've spent like $60 on games.
Well, it's like Thursday on Kind of Funny Games Daily. Every time you go there, and it's 13 new Switch games on the eShop. Like, jeez Louise. Okay.
I still got to play Space Cats with Lasers.
You do.
We're going to talk about that next week.
With lasers,
next time we're on. I was going to talk about it with Gary today, but we decided to wait for
thank you. I appreciate that. The random shout out I want to give that Florence reminded me of, in a similar vein of the story of the life of a relationship, one of my favorite YouTube videos of all time is a short film called Strangers Again by Wong Fu Productions.
Oh, wow.
If any of the Florence stuff sounds interesting, I'd highly recommend checking it out. It's the story of strangers that meet and then eventually become strangers again. Fantastic. It's so good.
I want to watch that. I want to watch that.
What else have you been playing, Greg?
The other big thing outside of Monster Hunter in Florence would be Moss. Moss, of course, we were lucky enough to play before E3 last year. They hit us up like, hey, these are guys who have worked at Bungie and Rockstar and all these different places, and they're making a PlayStation VR game, and they know what they're doing, and it's going to be cool, and you should check it out. And we did a Let's Play that went up right after E3 when it got announced at PSX, or I'm sorry, at the PlayStation conference, which of course was the little mouse, and everybody thought it was mouse guard at first, and it's like, oh no, it's this new thing called Moss. It's incredibly special. It's wonderful. It's whimsical. I feel like I've said it before. I was talking to Jen about this, where I'm like, it's a storybook come to life. And I know I said that 2 years ago about Song of the Deep. And I still think it is. In Song of the Deep, I still think it's awesome because, again, Song of the Deep was this woman telling you this story. Moss is that and more, and it literally is. Like in our Let's Play, it was us, sitting there in the library. Remember, it's PlayStation VR. I think I've said that a million times, but just to make sure, you're looking around the library and the books in front of you, and then you jump into the pages. Now having the complete package, it's so much more than that, and it is that there's this one woman telling you this story, right? And it is a throwback to that thing. I think I want to do a Game Over Greggy show topic a while back because somebody on Reddit put up something really heart-wrenching, I felt, but something you never think about. Think about this. There was like, today I learned or whatever. Like, think about this. There's a time for every parent where they hold their child for the last time and don't know that. I mean, like hold them, not like hold and like hug them, but like hold your kid. Like, when's the last time my dad picked me up, right? And you're like, fuck, that's heavy. You know what I mean? And this is the same thing playing it, and I think it's the other level of Song of the Deep where there was a time when I had a story read to me for the last time, and I don't think about that. And you go in this, and it's one narrator telling you the story, but when she gets to Quill, who's the female protagonist of this game, the little mouse, who's on the hunt for her uncle who ran off and never came back. He ran off on a mission. It's not like he went out for cigarettes. She does all the parts. So she's got a narrator voice, then she's got a Quill voice, then she's got an uncle voice, then she's got a snake voice. And it's like, you're playing through it, and it's like, if you're doing it the right way with PlayStation VR, the headset's on, the ears are in, everything's dead, and you're being told the story. And then on top of that, it is, and this sounds like an insult, and I feel like it also, since we're doing the PlayStation VR show right now, patreon.com/kindoffunnygames, new episode right now. We say it all the time, like, holy shit, what a great experience. That was my favorite thing in PlayStation VR, blah, blah, blah. Without insulting any other PlayStation VR game I've played, and that's because my footing is, this is the most PlayStation VR game I've ever played.
So that's a question I have. What is the game? Because I've seen the trailers and I watched you play it at your desk, and I still don't quite understand what's going on, like what you're seeing in your VR and what you're controlling, because you have a DualShock.
Right. So you play with the DualShock, you're in PlayStation VR. You have two methods of control with the game. With the DualShock, so like the idea is that in the game, you are the reader. And that's what they refer to you as, and there's like reflecting pools, and you can look down and you have like this like ghost mask. Not ghost like Scream guy, but like ghost like the anime guy, I don't know. But like you have a mask on, and like Quill references that is like, I'm being followed by this reader, and like she found an artifact that is, there's an ancient history too. So like when she runs into people, like, oh my gosh, there's a reader with you. Like, oh my, they get that you're this tag team duo. So as the reader, with the DualShock, you have this blue light, this like circle of light on the screen that you can use to certain objects interact with. Because what this game really is a puzzle game. It's a puzzle room. Everything. You go to different rooms and then there's different puzzles, right? You're inside of them with Quill, the little mouse running around. So with the blue thing, you grab things and pull them. You do other stuff. So like if, the last night, one of the puzzles I was finishing the game with was Quill hops on this thing, like a standing like little tower, hits the thing in the center, a gate goes up and it starts moving, but you have to figure out, okay, how do I stop it? Where do I stop it? How do, there's enemies there. How do I use them to stop it? Shit like that. You're moving and interacting with those things. You can also take control of enemies as the reader, certain enemies, and so there's ones that are shooting. You can take control of them and then shoot stuff and then use them in puzzles to shoot the levers to open new doors and stuff. On top of all that, which is where it gets interesting, where it gets interesting, I'll get to that. A good thing for this game is that I really feel there's gonna be a Moss 2 for sure. Okay. The game definitely is. You finished book 1 of Moss, and they talk about like your journey's just beginning, and I'm like, fuck yes, great. And as good as this is, I fucking hope they make another one. The thing is, though, this is definitely going to be, even playing it now, you're like, this is their Uncharted 1. Where this is great, but next time you're gonna knock it out of the fucking park when you do this. Because one of the most interesting things they do is, and they don't do it enough, is that I'm controlling enemies, I'm holding doors with the blue light, but then the entire game, you're controlling Quill as well in traditional thing. So I'm moving her with the right stick. I'm fighting, or I'm sorry, the left stick. Sorry, I'm bad from the left stick. Right? Moving her with the left stick. I'm jumping. I'm attacking. I'm evading with these things. So there are puzzles that are like, it's like, rubbing your stomach and patting your head, where it is like, all right, cool. I'm holding this guy to use them to block them, but I'm fighting this enemy over there. Or I need to run her over here and then release him and it's like, wow, this is a really cool puzzle design. And then there are levels in it that use PlayStation VR in a 3-dimensional space, or use VR.
So that's another thing. A question I have is, why does this game need to be VR? Because a lot of things that you're saying like sounds like it could just be done in a traditional, and like looking at what the game seems to be.
Yeah,
you just can 3D platformer puzzle game.
The thing about it is they're good at, and again, Uncharted 1 to Uncharted 2 thing, they're good at making you operate in the 3-dimensional space later on. Where it was last night, like there's like, you finally get to the end boss of the game, and it is like a boss thing of like, this giant snake is chasing you and you can use weapons here and there, but it wasn't like, I was like, fuck, it's like 1 a.m. and I'm standing up in the living room. I'm sure if Jen was awake, I'd look like a psychopath, but I've been sitting on the couch pretty much the whole game, and then every so often leaning in and looking left and right, trying to find the hidden things. There's like, you'll see an item, and you're like, how the, and you like, it is that like thing of like, imagine like, when you're working on a puzzle, like a real puzzle on the table, where you like walk around with the coffee cup and you try to get a different angle on it. That's how it is. And puzzle games for me, I don't like. I don't like getting stomped. I don't like having my progression stopped. I don't like feeling like I'm beating my head against the wall. And this one is a juniory puzzle game. It's not meant to befuddle you and make you angry, but it also works so naturally. It is like, I almost, like there's these collectibles to get to assemble this like picture. I feel like I'm too short or whatever through my playthrough, and I was looking for them because they were fun to find, and it was actually living in the space and moving around and moving my head around and seeing how it works and figuring out how to take down enemies or how to get over there and stuff like that. The game's beautiful graphically. The animations for Quill are awesome, like awesome. Like there are times where I'm playing, and granted it's VR, so the visual quality's downgraded a bit, but that works for it. Where I'm playing, I'm like, fuck, I'm controlling her, and that looks like I'm seeing an animated movie. Like something's actually happening the way it should be. And then they do such a great job of, you're playing through the woods and stuff, and they're telling a narrative story around you of like, there's this whole animal kingdom. But early on, even, you're going and like, oh, this bridge is a sword. And then you walk into this thing and like, oh, this is like a knight's chest armor that I'm walking through that they've made. And then it's like, there's this like just battleground of all these swords in the ground and stuff like that. And like, oh man, what the hell happened here? And there's all, but you go through the forest and you go through the muck and you go through the sand. And then last night, and because of how VR works and the way it locks you in and shows you what it wants you to see, I don't think I've had a gaming experience like this where, all right, I've done all this stuff and like I've begun at this point to take for granted how great this game looks and how it all is. And you walk in and it's just, it's blinding white light and it's just beautiful. It's just beautiful white marble. It's bright. The sun's coming through like an amazing cathedral. And then this is after having, okay, cool, I'm in the forest falling through a hole and then in a pitch black room where I'm running around and just my little blue thing is giving off light. And it's like, holy shit, I forgot this game is stunning. Like this game is something really, really special. It's short. I know a lot of people are cranky about that, but I mean like it's another one of those experiences I think's there. And I think PlayStation VR fans are there because we understand what we got with this thing, right? It's Gen 1 tech. This is by far the most gamey game you've had, though. Not to take away from Super Hot, which I think is great, but Super Hot is like, cool, I'm dodging, and this is how it is. Whereas this is like, oh, cool, it's puzzles and it's combat, and the combat's like one of the weaker parts of it. Where I'm like, either give her more moves or dial this back a bit, because it was by the end, I'm like, I got it. I know how to dodge these things. This is just kind of getting annoying.
And Greg, to be clear, this is a third-person experience, right? You're
right. Yeah,
okay.
Quill's. Imagine like you're in a diorama and you're controlling the character running around the diorama, and you can move freely. And like again, what you're talking about, like what does PSVR add to it, or VR in general? It is the thing that with the blue ball, technically, I guess you could put it on a stick. Yeah. Like you can put it on the right stick, but with it being your hands, it is, oh, I need to get back there. I need to get a little bit further. I reach out and I do one of these kind of things to grab
with the DualShock.
Yeah, exactly. To move my reader's ball further back into the world and interact.
So this is something I've noticed is most of the VR titles that have really impressed me up to this point have been third person. And it's striking. I didn't expect that when this technology emerged. I think like most of us, I expected it would just be about being plopped in a world from my first person perspective. And again, the way people are using this to tell stories you couldn't have told any other way, but from an outside observer's perspective, I am fast. This sounds like Jim Henson's The Storyteller, the game.
Yeah.
I cannot wait. I love that conceit in games. The beginning of Princess Crown has always captivated me, which starts kind of the same way. And but the fact that they stick with that metaphor all the way through, I am beyond sold. This sounds spectacular.
And it's that thing where, again, it's Uncharted 1. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's got like an 8.2, 8.3 on Metacritic right now. And I'm like, sure, I might go a little bit higher, but not much. You're right in the right range there of how it's supposed to be. And to Tim's point, it sucks that he ran away, little baby bladder, of like, it sounds like something could be done somewhere else. There's another game, and I don't remember the name off the top of my head, that does this similarly, of I'm in the audience watching like a stage play and controlling it, and I played about 20, 30 minutes of it, and I was like, I'm out.
A VR game?
Yeah, because it was just like, to the point is, I am just sitting there doing this. I could not, this doesn't need to be VR.
Yeah.
And whereas this one, VR added so much to it. And it was clearly a passion project for them to build this and make a VR game that is awesome and does feel like a game. And in the same way I was talking about Metal Gear showing me like, oh fuck, like Metal Gear Solid, this is what games can be, the stories they can tell. It's like, oh fuck, this is what VR can do.
Yeah.
And to your point, like, I think third person works so well because it's something you already know, and it's not obtrusive, right? Like I was talking to Jen about it, and I was just like, "This is great, it's beautiful." And she's like, "Yeah, I just wish I could play VR." And I'm like, "This one you might be able to. It isn't first person. It isn't on rails. You are in. You know what I mean? Like it's not like you're like getting that weird wobbly effect from it."
Yeah, and any VR experience that I've had. So I've got the PSVR, I've got the Oculus, and I got the Vive.
Sure.
So Vive is easiest for my stomach because I'm actually getting to move around. Rift is fantastic because we got pretty much the same games, just an easier setup. But the PSVR usually messes me up.
Oh, really?
Just because anything where I've got the headset on, I've got the headphones on, but I'm moving, like I'm walking rather than like the teleport motions.
Yep.
Just a regular motion, my stomach instantly goes.
Sure.
And I'm out. So then there's so many like cool looking games that I want to play on it. And as soon as I realized, like there's like what was the one where you're like in a mech and you're flying around and
the one
it was one of the first
One
ones.
of the experience ones, right? That came with when VR first came out. PSVR.
It wasn't one of the experiences, but it came out at launch.
Yeah, it was.
Riggs,
yeah.
the sports game.
So it looks so awesome and so much fun. But as soon as I got into it and was moving while not physically moving, I was out. And even with like Resident Evil, I can't play it because like at least give me like a walking motion when it's just floating through. My brain and my stomach like become unattached and they don't like it. But
that's why I think this is a way to ease you into it, right? Because it's not that. And I totally feel you. Riggs was the same way for me where I was in there. I was like, I've got that demo at PAX. I'm like, great. And like, oh, cool, I'm in the thing. And it was your elevator going up. And the elevator stopped and my body felt like it kept going. And it was like, oh, fuck. Like,
I've heard that about Riggs a lot. Actually, from most of the people I know who have played it have had that complaint about it.
Yeah, but games like, Robo Recall on the Rift where you're using the deal to teleport.
Yeah, teleport's a big
moving,
people like teleport a lot now,
Yeah, it makes stuff so much better for me. But to your point of like it being in third person, like sounds kind of awesome.
Give it a shot. It's awesome.
Kind of awesome.
So Moss gets the 2 thumbs up from Greg Miller.
100%.
Check out Moss. Ladies and gentlemen, Kind of Funny Gamescast is brought to you by Blue Apron. Greg, you know all about Blue Apron.
I do. I love Blue Apron.
You and Jen have been getting it for at least a year now, it seems like.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was a customer before they ever started sponsoring the show, which was easy for us to take this sponsorship.
Yeah, Blue Apron is the #1 fresh ingredient recipe delivery service in the country. Their mission is to make incredible home cooking accessible to everyone. They now have their wine service that you guys have been taking up.
I do use Blue Apron wine, that's right.
The wine plan, you get 6 bottles of wine from renowned winemakers delivered monthly. There's the 2-person meal plan or the family meal plan. Both of those are pretty self-explanatory. What's been new? What have you been eating recently?
Last night, we don't even talk about this. I know that you just know that I did. Last night I came home. This is why I love Blue Apron. I love cooking. You know this, Austin. You've seen Cooking with Greg. I come home last night. I am tired. I just want to play Monster Hunter. I'm like, where are we gonna go out to eat? And I look over the boxes on the floor, already unpacked. I'm like, Nailed it. What do you want to eat, babe? And I went over there, picked up. I did Parmesan crusted steaks last night with mashed potatoes and broccoli.
My God, is that what we're eating tonight?
No, well now
we're doing pizza tonight.
Now we're just playing Monster here at the studio. You miss out on a home cooked meal now, brother. But that's what it looked like.
Oh, okay.
Right? Yeah.
So what? Explain this to me because I don't know what it is.
So Blue Apron, you sign up, right, and you pick your meal plan. You can have, 1, 2, or 3 meals a week, I believe. Tim's looking at the cop. I do the 3 meal plan.
The 2-person meal plan, you choose from 8 new recipes per week with the choice to receive either 2 or 3 recipes.
My apologies.
Okay.
So we do 3. So once a week, every Tuesday, we get a box delivered. You open it up, and there's 3 recipe cards in there that are step by step. All the ingredients are in there, and they're all pre-packaged. So what you do is you can turn off your brain. You learn how to cook something new, but you don't have to worry about like, oh, do I have this? Do I have that? Yeah. Everything's there, and you flip it over, and it's just like, all right, cool. Start your oven. Last night was like, I think the instructions. Start the oven at 450. Put it in the center rack. Start boiling a salty thing of water. Wash all the vegetables. Large cut the potatoes. And it's just step by step by step, and you go through and do it all.
Dude, I'm in. What do we have to do?
All that you got to do. God, you're a professional. Blue Apron is treating Kind of Funny Gamescast listeners to $30 off your first order if you visit blueapron.com/Gamescast. So check out this week's menu and get your $30 off at blueapron.com/Gamescast. Blue Apron, a better way to cook.
And shout out to Aaron, Jeremy, Casey, Jose, and Dylan. All folks that I gave away my free meals because I'm a real Blue Apron customer.
Wow,
they give you free meals to give away, and on Reddit some guy gave away his, and he was like, and then so many people were like, "I'd love these," and I was like, "Oh, do anybody want mine?" And those guys hit me up, and they got them. So there you go.
That's awesome. And Kind of Funny Gamescast is also brought to you by 4hims.com. Let me tell you about 4hims. It's a one-stop shop for hair loss, skincare, sexual wellness for men. It's medical grade solutions, real doctors offering well-known generic equivalents to name brand prescriptions to help you keep your hair. It's not herbal supplements, prescription solutions backed by science. Nick Scarpino and Eddie Cortez have been very public about their hair loss and how they've been, trying to deal with it over the last couple of years. Nick, a couple of years ago, made that amazing video that you should search for of Nick Scarpino's daily routine where he gets in the shower and he goes through everything and the things that he does to deal with what he sees as an issue. And I feel like that's kind of hard for a lot of people to admit.
Just keep looking at me, Tim.
Yeah, no, here
just
you go.
keep looking at me.
This beautiful man here. But as you get older, things change, things start happening, and I feel like it takes a lot to be able to admit that and try to look into some solutions for it. And what's cool about for Hims here is that 66% of men start losing their hair by age 35, and when we start to notice it, it's too late. So you got to get ahead of that. It's easier to keep the hair you have than to replace the hair that you've lost. If you order now, you can get a trial month of everything you need to keep your hair for just $5 right now while supplies last. You can see the website for full details. It would cost hundreds if you went to do it with the store and all that stuff. What's cool about them is the packaging's very discreet. It's all, you can go online and get the consultations and stuff, and you just answer a few quick questions. The doctor will review and prescribe you some things. It's directly in your door. There's none of the awkward doctor visits, and it's a comfortable way to kind of look into it if that is something that you are interested in. You can go to 4hims.com/Gamescast. That's FORHIMS.com/Gamescast. 4hims/Gamescast. They don't have a fun thing.
For Hims. Do something for you.
Do something for you.
Yeah.
Do something for you. So, Greg, topic of the show time.
It's been a long time since we had a real talk. Yeah. We usually just talk about all the games we've been playing for an hour and a half and then call it a day. My topic of the show, sure. It's for you, Austin Creed.
Okay.
It's a serious topic too.
Ooh.
Top level, I want to know what it's like being a black nerd, a black video game fan. And I say this because of a great conversation that happened on our subreddit. I feel like this is also sponsored by our subreddit because I keep talking about them.
Reddit.com/r/kindafunny.
There you go. When we did our Black Panther MCU in review, went up and we were all like, yeah, Black Panther is a great movie. Maybe not as good as everybody was saying it was because we saw it, opening night. So it was just the advanced reviews that are like, this changes everything. The most spectacular, craziest movie you'll ever fucking see. And we were like, oh, it was good or whatever. Yeah, we liked it. But we ranked it high in MCU. We got to go check out that thing. Anyways, though, that went live. And on our subreddit, 2 really respectful threads went up. But one stood out to me. And it was a guy posting me like, hey, I love the guys. I love MCU in review. I think they missed the mark here. I'm black. This is what it meant to me. And then it started in this really respectful conversation of people would love to see more diversity on our show, that they would love to see us on MCU for Black Panther, bring in a black voice. And that's come up before. Like back in the old days, in the old spare bedroom, right? Like we did a topic on Ferguson when it popped off, and I was really emotional, really angry about it. And it was that went up, and everybody's like, great, we agree with you, Greg, but like, I really wish you guys would have had a black voice on this. And it was my response of, I hear you, but then I feel shitty doing the token thing of calling somebody I don't hang out with often or whatever to be like, we need a black voice. Come on, be that guy, right? Like you're here because you're awesome and you love video games and you're our friend. But it is like, it's not just like, hey, we're talking about black games today. Like, you know what I mean? Or something.
Let me tell you something.
Tell me about that 50 Cent Blood in the Sand.
Dude, Def Jam Vendetta is so
Jam
good.
Yeah, I
Vendetta,
know,
let's
I know.
go.
But legit, that's a really good game. Not to put any stigmas on it.
So, and I had said that then, and then it's once or twice come up before. And then, Black Panther happened, and it was that, and I had thought about that, but it never happened. And also it is that, like, who would I get for that? Like, who do we know in that space that would work? And it's like, would it be worth flying Andre the Black Nerd up here? We don't have unlimited budget. Like, it's a thought that goes through my head or whatever, right? But then the conversation kept going from there. Again, I love you guys so much. It was so respectful of like, I hear you. And then another guy would pop up and be like, oh, I am black and I love, listen to NBA shows, but I don't expect the guys to talk about the NBA. So like, you can't come in here and put that on them. And they've talked about the show and everybody's like, I understand that, blah, blah. But eventually somebody said something that I found really compelling of just like, hadn't announced Jared yet, but we were teasing a new host. And they were like, I understand, but it's in the same way that with this new hire, I hope it's a black voice. And somebody said, but realistically, who would that be? I can only think of 5 black gaming journalists or gaming personalities. And they listed them, and one of them, and this isn't me knocking, it was Bobby Amos from IGN, who I've done tons of Madden videos with, and he does the Call of Duty videos, or used to when we worked there. And I love Bobby, but not a journalist. It's not like he's out there, going to press conferences, taking notes. Not that, whatever. That's what defines gaming journalists. How do you go to a press conference and take notes?
Where's your badge?
He's a personality, right? But it was like Austin Walker and Bobby, and I was like, wow, that is a super short roster. And so all that leads me to here, where I need to have that conversation with someone like yourself, who is involved in this, who is a fan, who has a YouTube channel, who does all this stuff. Why is it like this? Why is it that,
where are we?
Yeah, like why is it that there aren't as many black voices in video game critiquing or nerddom in general, I guess, if that makes sense?
Well,
or am I missing them all?
No, I don't think that you're missing them. I think that there are more than people think that there are, but they might not have the platform that other people might. And I think that comes from let's go backwards in time. So growing up, so I was born in '86. Okay, so growing up like throughout the '90s, in the South, in Bible Belt in Atlanta, before then lived in Inglewood, California for a little while. So like dealing with gangs and stuff there, and then moving to Georgia, dealing just with being one of the very few black people like in my school, in my community at the time. Not the fault of the kids that I hung out with, but just because the way that things were, they expected a black person to act or be a certain kind of way. And that was, Donald Glover does a really good stand-up on it, one of his older ones, where he says, I was the black kid in school, so they said, oh my God, the black kid in school, what kind of hats do you wear? What kind of basketball teams do you like? What kind of shoes do you dig? And he's like, I like school and comic books. Like, no, you're black. Tell us what kind of shoes to wear. And so while he's joking, like that's a lot of what a lot of us as young black kids who were nerds went through. So it was a situation where, and people say this term lightly, like, oh, like you're an Oreo, like, oh, you're black on the outside, but you're white on the inside. Like you don't like black stuff, you don't talk black, and it's like that's not really a thing, and it's something that was it could be very detrimental at times to hear, like as a young black kid. And there's an episode of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air where, so everybody knows Carlton. And how he is in very Ivy League and Princeton and stuff. And so there's an episode where other black guys are making fun of him, saying that he's not black. He doesn't act like he's black. And he says, I think something along the lines of being black, you can't act black. You just are black. Black isn't something that you do when you wake up. It's just something that you are from birth. But I think that gets mixed up in a lot of people's minds, and stigmas and stereotypes get thrown on. So me personally, I loved school, I loved comic books, I loved video games, and I wasn't at the time the what you would call the stereotypical black person.
Sure.
And so I got a lot of flack from people, like on both ends, from white kids, from black kids, from all kinds of kids, just for being a nerd in general. And so it kind of created a scenario where, as a black kid going through that, you either stay the course and you do what you want, or you take the easier route, which is no fault of anyone's. It's just you don't want to get made fun of. You don't want to get yelled at. You want to have friends. And you go the easy route and you kind of drop all that stuff and you kind of fall more in line with what people believe you should be rather than what you want to be. And the way that kind of plays into our adulthood, and with this topic of Black Panther, with all the talk of equality in Hollywood and things like that, there's this kind of thing that's been pounced around that movies with predominantly black casts won't move well. They won't make money.
Perform,
so that's why they don't make them. And it's like, well, the reason that Black Panther was such a good thing for just black people in Hollywood and then black people in general, because it showed that's not a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a good story with good actors, with like money behind it and good promotion, just like you would with any other movie, with any other kind of cast, white, black, Asian, Hispanic, what have you, it'll do well and make money. So this kind of smudge on us as black people that we can't do or that we're lesser than, Black Panther in that sense has kind of helped us feel a lot better about that, because we can kind of show the world like, no, you've been wrong about us. And the only thing that I know that I want for black people in games, in movies, my main push was in wrestling. That's why we created New Day. We wanted black people to have a clean slate just like everybody else, because in wrestling, for instance, there was a time where as a black performer, you either danced a lot, or you were just the big, strong black guy, or you were the foreign black guy. So at the time, I was the dancing black guy, E was the strong black guy, and then Kofi was the Jamaican black guy. And those were like the three archetypes of black wrestler. And so right before we started New Day, we sat and we talked. We said, we want to break away from this and just be whatever we want. Because if we were the same three guys, but we didn't have dark skin, people would see us and they go, oh, okay, they can be whatever they want. He can come out and he can have like a chef gimmick, or he could be like a rock star gimmick, or he could be a techie nerd gimmick. Like, we could be anything that we wanted to. And so with New Day, we chose to be ourselves. When we got to a certain point, we did like the gospel stuff at first because everybody hated it, and kind of got it to like a fever pitch. And then it's like, now we're just going to be us, because it kind of set the table for that. And so for us, it's a clean slate, because this is how I am. This is how I act. That's how Kofi is. That's how he is. And so for people to see Black Panther, like, it's like that's how those actors and that's how those roles are played.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be a thing where you say this won't do well because of these people's skin. It's the actor, the person inside, the character, the way they're written, the setting of the movie. Like, and this would probably be a few spoilers, but just like being able to take the African culture and make it so badass. Like, my favorite part of the whole movie was when they started fighting each other and you saw them, they had like the kente cloth shields. That popped me the most, because it's not like, oh, technology occurred, so like they just get rid of all this culture and make this new stuff. It's like, no, they take their culture that is within them and they add technology to it. So there's a lot of small things within the movie that just kind of, for lack of a better term, like just like make you proud to be a black person, because they could have just like done away with things and been like, oh, okay, there's flying cars, there's this and that, everyone's wearing suits, everyone's just, they're like everyone else that has technology. It's like, no, they're like proud African people,
sure,
with technology added on. And so that's a very long-winded answer to try to work around and explain like why it's important. But I don't think that it's necessarily a thing where if you don't think the movie is amazing, like, you're not racist or anything. And I feel like that's how people will take a lot of stuff. Like, I heard,
well, that's the internet. Let's boil it down to 140 characters.
Okay, fair.
Woke.
Yeah, so I saw like some of that stuff, and then so take it back even further. Like when Wonder Woman came out, one of my friends was like, "Oh, I don't like Wonder Woman," and he said it like on the internet. People were like, "Oh, you're sexist. You don't like women." It's like, whoa. No, I didn't say that at all. Like, I just didn't like that movie. So it's weird, especially in this day and age and this time. Like, it's almost like you're like walking on eggshells to make sure like you don't get like pushed into a corner and people saying stuff about you that's not true. But at the same time, it's I think this is good that you guys wanted this type of discussion, because from one perspective, from the guy who's talking on Reddit, like not that you guys can't talk about it, but coming from the perspective of a black person who like lives this life every day and understands like the different things that we go through. Like, I don't understand what you guys go through, like as white males. You guys have your own struggle. As a black male, I have my own struggle. And so this movie kind of helped our struggle a little bit. And so that's why we feel good about it, and that's kind of what it means to us. Do
you see it for video games getting better, being better? Is it already changing?
I think definitely it's on its way. And so I'm talking about the stuff that I went through as a kid. I think I went through those things because there wasn't anybody who looked like me in the space at the time. And granted, so you said you can only think of like 5 people. That's 5 more people than we had when we were growing up. And there's definitely, so there's 5, if you say 5, like 5 people up here, but there's so many more that are sprinkling, like everybody's like on the come up. Yeah. So as a kid with the internet, I can find someone that looks like me, that's doing the things that I want to do. And that, I can't explain the immense help that gives you as a child, knowing, oh, if I stay on this path, I can get there. But not being able to see anybody in the space that looks like you, it's kind of, it's detrimental, definitely, but it's very disheartening, because then you start to listen to people and they say, oh, you're black, you can't do this. And you're like, well, I don't see anybody that's telling me any different, and I don't see anybody doing different, so maybe they're right. But actually seeing faces in that space and seeing articles and seeing them on video and seeing them like come through your town with whatever they're doing, seeing them at E3, seeing them at PAX, it just helps you to know that you can have a blank slate and you can, for lack of a better term, be whatever you want to be.
Yeah. Austin, did you ever see Robert Townsend's Hollywood Shuffle?
I did not.
Okay, well then there's the end of my question.
Okay.
It's interesting, being who I am, looking at the whole situation, like the tip of the spear when it comes to, kind of women in gaming, and how we're finally at a point that it feels like there's been some momentum towards like a better
there's a new woman running IGN, right? Like for IGN Games is run by a female for the first time ever. It's
more
like,
women working there than ever, and working in the entire games industry than ever. And it's like it's not perfect yet, and it probably never will be, but at least we're making the steps, right? I feel like there was that initial wave, that first wave for women, where it had to be about them being women. It had to be girls on games, or whatever it is, and there's nothing wrong with that. And then you see it with Black Nerd, where it's like that needed to be kind of his, and I don't want to speak for him, but you wouldn't see Jared come out with the white nerd. It's like it kind of it sucks that
no, you would not.
No, but like it sucks that it goes without saying that's just, oh yeah, no, I can be whatever I want, but that these groups feel the need to kind of have that be their for lack of a better term, gimmick. You know?
I think that it's less that it's, I'm sure for some people it's a gimmick, but I feel like the sentiment is because it's still fairly fresh. So I would think if I'm young me now and I'm looking for like a black journalist or a black guy in video games, and I look up and I don't know what to Google. I don't know whose name to Google. I Google, show me a black nerd. Then I find Andre the Black Nerd. I'm like, oh, okay, hell yeah, I can rock with this guy. And not that it always needs, I don't need to be, oh, I'm Black Austin Creed. But like as, so like people that are kind of, let's say, pioneering or spearheading, I don't think it's a bad thing. Let's like girls on games. It's easy to find. They can find them and rock with them. They can watch their stuff. But then as we go down the line and there's more and more and more, that's when we start to shed that and come closer together rather than highlighting our differences.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I think it has its good and bad things, but I think at the forefront of it, so like now, I think it's fine to have those monikers and things like that. But then again, as we move on, we start to shed them and everybody can just be people.
And again, it's difficult for me to say all these things because I do not want to put words in people's mouths, but like I was so happy to see Andrew, Renee, and them do What's Good Games and have that be the name, because I do feel like we are finally at that point where the first round we're past that. Like, everybody can watch that and understand what it is. And
they're very clear publicly, right? That this isn't, we're not girl. I mean, they say girl power, but like they're not. That isn't their leading message. They're just people who like games and have a podcast. Like games and we're all friends.
We're all friends, and we're very knowledgeable, and we're a great group of people. And this is who we are. And I think that is a very, very powerful message. And it excites me that we're going to get more things like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we solved.
No, I'm good.
We solved racism.
Okay, done. We win. It's solved.
Sorry,
Racism
yeah, I just
solved.
wanted, I don't, because it is that thing of like, I started responding on Reddit, and it was that thing of like, no, I don't, I can tell you over and over the way I've thought about it, or hemmed and hawed, or done whatever. The fact that like, oh man, I really hope they, hire a person of color, and then somebody was like, well, don't forget about like Andy and Kevin and Joe. I'm like, they were like, yeah, you know what I mean, and it was like, no, and again, everyone's respectful, like, yeah, I know what you mean. It is that thing of like, all of our contributors, right, are doing it out of the kindness of their heart. Yeah, we give them a few pennies, but it's not like we've never been able to, or we aren't at the point yet where we're like, let's hire a full-time host and do a nationwide search and find the next person.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Greg, if you want to give me a raise, you're welcome to.
Sure don't.
They got your lunch.
Yeah, absolutely. Got me lunch.
You got the beef and broccoli. Yeah. Thank you, Austin.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Kind of Funny Gamescast. Until next week, I love you.
Wow, that was just
That was it.
You just do abrupt every time. You didn't say anything about up. You didn't say up, down, down.
YouTube.com/up, down, down.
If you're watching live, we're gonna stream on it tonight. Do some Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
If you're watching later, do you archive your streams?
Yes,
All right,
we
there
do.
you go.
So you,
Twitch.tv/
I think it's
You do
slash
your own
Austin Creed.
pimping.
Yeah. I'll pimp myself. Here's my message. Hey, everybody, don't be racist. But you can catch me on Twitter at Xavier Woods PhD. Same thing on Instagram. On Snapchat, it's used food. My dad used to call himself that, and then when I became an adult, I realized what he meant, because used food,
That's
it's
nasty.
poop. So he's the shh.
You can say shit. He's the shit. Yeah.
My PG thing is on in my brain.
I know. Yeah. That's why I only operate in X.
But then now you can catch me on YouTube. Channel is up, down, down. On socials, it's up, down, down without the O's. So follow us and we'll tell you what's going on. But when you go subscribe on YouTube, make sure you do two things. Hit that notification bell, and any video you watch, matter of fact, any video you don't watch, hit the like button, the thumb, because analytics are good for your boy.
But if Dan Reichard's in it, vote it down.
Well,
Down. Just vote it down.
I mean, yeah. Well, here, vote it up, but on Twitter, send him a picture of you doing a thumbs down. Yeah.
Nailed it.
I
Perfect.
like where your head's at.
Everyone who's watching this, I would be very happy if you sent a picture of you doing a thumbs down to Dan Reichard.
Austin Creed, master of algorithms.
I love it. The master of algorithms. And now, until next time, I love you. What's up, guys? Hope you loved that episode. If you did, click here to subscribe to Kind of Funny Games. Click there to subscribe to Kind of Funny. Click there to support us on Patreon. Just $1 would be really nice. And click here for Up, Down, Down's channel.
And click our bell, too. We never tell you to do that, but
Hit
it's
the
a
bell.
thing.